Hello, everybody, and welcome into the 13th edition of Texas Longhorns here live. I am your host, Matthew Miller. You can follow me right there on X. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi has been crap. Don't know why, but that's what it is. So we're working with it. See what happens during the show. You can control what you can control, guys. I cannot control this. I've tried to get it worked out. I live in the sticks, so it's really hard to get it worked out. But I am upstairs tonight, usually in the basement, because I have my set down there. But the Wi-Fi would not connect down there. So tonight we're doing it from the upstairs. I am Matthew Miller, like I said, your host, 13th edition. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Tonight we're going to be talking recruiting updates. We did land a 4-star recruit, a big one in my opinion, a guy that we talked about, super blue chip prospects. That is this guy, Nick Townsend. We'll talk about him in a second. We're also going to talk about recruiting updates in general. And then we're going to talk about roster updates in general. The weights and heights of these guys were updated. There's some big guys that we'll talk about that I think will help this Texas team in general. And that some of them got their weights in control. Some of them upped their weights. I think there's a lot of positivity, honestly, with the updates. Now, take what you see with a grain of salt, and we'll break that down. But before we do that, guess what tomorrow is, guys? And actually the day after, Prime Day. So grab that link down in the description, throw it up into Amazon, and guess what? You will help out Mark, put a little bit of money in his pocket. Doesn't change your buying experience, doesn't change their selling experience. It's all the same. He just makes a little bit of profit off of it, so please do that. Also, every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time or 7 p.m. Central, USC. They do a fantastic job. Tim, Matt, and Mark hosting. So go over there, like that content, and subscribe is there as well at that channel. Really helps out what they're trying to build. We're all trying to push our subscribers up going into the season. We want more people in here, more conversation. Obviously, I think it's going to be a good season for Texas. I think USC actually can surprise some people. So go over there and watch their show as well, guys. Now, let's jump into it. 4-star commitment. Athlete, tied in, Nicholas Townsend or Nick Townsend. I really like this guy. He is, in my opinion, a very underrated prospect. 10.900 meters. 10.900 meters at his size, guys, is very unheard of. That is why he's listed as an athlete. Whenever you see athlete at next to someone's name, they can basically do it all on the football field, and this guy is no exception. I think he's highly underrated. I think there's a real chance by the end of the year in his senior season, he's a 5-star recruit. So I'm in love with this guy. I think he'll play tight end at Texas. Could he play linebacker? Absolutely he could, outside linebacker. He had multiple sacks, multiple tackles for loss, plays with a lot of physicality in high school. He's one of those guys I expect to be a good blocker at the tight end position. And when you get good blocking with this type of athleticism, that is very rare. Imagine an Amari Niblack as like an elite blocker. I think that's what this guy can be. Freak athlete, and Texas gets a really good one today. Finally, we get a big-time recruiting win. There's more in the pipeline, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But we stack up Jonathan Cunningham, Nick Townsend, Smith Orogbo, 2 weeks ago now. So overall, Texas is trending, which is good that we haven't been able to say that in a while. And overall, very positive recruitment. And I expected this to go Texas way, and it went Texas way. You know, it hasn't been that way lately. I expected Decorey Moore to be a Longhorn by now, and he's not, and he probably won't be, honestly. So it really sucks. But this guy's a freak. I do think he ends up at the tight end position, but he has the physicality to play defense. And honestly, it's kind of his choice. I would suspect he's going to play tight end because unless he's an elite outside linebacker, you make more money being a tight end. So we do win that one. Another guy that did come down the pipe today but did not land at Texas is Tanook Hines. I was actually wrong on that. I thought he was going to go to Notre Dame. He was trending in Notre Dame for a while, so congratulations. We just talked about him, USC. They won that recruitment. They obviously pushed hard at the end, and they were able to get it. He's a good player, guys. Texas was never really in the running for him. Andrew Marsh is another guy like that. They were on campus. They were interested in Texas, but I think Texas showed less interest in them than they did in Texas. And that's why Tanook Hines goes to USC. Andrew Marshall will probably end up going to Michigan. So overall, a good day for the Longhorns. And what do we have up next? So we'll talk about recruiting updates. So 4-star Kelshawn Johnson, because of Hurricane, Burl down in Texas, He was unable to commit last week, and this has helped out Texas. Now, remember, Texas wanted Decorion Moore, Jamie French, Khalid Lockett, whatever order. I'm sure that's probably the order, honestly. And they were really pushing for Decorion Moore. Kelshawn Johnson, to me, was that fourth guy, and he wasn't receiving as much attention, but he definitely was a priority. And what I mean by that is when you have Decorion Moore, you're going to go after him a little bit harder, a little bit longer than a Kelshawn Johnson. But once Decorion Moore went to Oregon, I think it helped out Texas. And Steve Sarkisian even made it a priority to say, hey, you are a priority for us. When Kelshawn Johnson came to the University of Texas for his official visit, he sat down with Kelshawn Johnson. He said, hey, man, in a private meeting, I don't know what they said, but I'm assuming it was, hey, man, you fit in this. We can make you fit in this. You see what I do with wide receivers. You can be a highly rated wide receiver and highly touted wide receiver in my system and hopefully get to the NFL. This guy definitely fills that speed need, which you lost with Decorion Moore. Jimmy French, Khalid Lockett, both good athletes, but they're not speed demons like a Kelshawn Johnson or Decorion Moore. Obviously, Kelshawn Johnson is not highly rated or as good as Decorion Moore, but he's still a good player. And I do want Texas to get him. I think Texas has a chance. Right now, I think it's A&M probably 60, I'll say 55-45 A&M over Texas. But who knows? And tomorrow, I believe he does pick. He's been iffy. Like I said, the hurricane pushed it back, and then he was supposed to do it sometime late last week, and he said, no, I'm going to push it into next week. So I think that has helped Texas. Steve Sarkisian has been in contact with the parents and his mom specifically, and basically he's pushing it. He wants this guy, man. So I want him too. He's, like I said, a little bit smaller, but he's a speed demon, and he fits in the offense really well. And when we get to the roster updates, Sark has a type, and we'll talk about that later, but Kelshawn Johnson is definitely that type. Next up, we have Michael Terry. Last week, he said his final four are Oregon, Texas, Nebraska, and Texas A&M. Texas and Texas A&M are recruiting him as an athlete. That means we're going to get you on campus. We're going to see what you can do. We're going to see where you fit, and that's where we're going to place you. Nebraska is saying wide receiver or tight end, and Oregon is saying running back. So to me, guys, he will choose the place where he wants, like what position he wants, based on what position he wants to play. If he wants to be a running back, he'll be at Oregon. If he wants to be a tight end / wide receiver, he'll be at Nebraska. If he's open to playing anywhere, he'll be at Texas or Texas A&M. I would favor Texas in that slightly. He is really big for running back, honestly. I think he's going to end up being probably 6'3", like 220, 230. Like, that's gigantic for a running back, so I don't really see him at running back. Plus, Jordan Davidson just went to Oregon, so it really surprised me if he did choose Oregon, even though they have kicked our butt lately. I personally think, man, I don't know. I feel like Nebraska. I don't know. I just have a feeling there. That's my gut feeling on it. Obviously, if he's open to it, he can play whatever position he wants or whatever he's best at Texas. He could end up being another tight end. Imagine him and Nicholas Townsend running at tight end. That would be spectacular. That would be the best freshman tight end combination in the country. So it'll be interesting there. And that's also what A&M is pitching. Come here, be with Keody Armstrong, be the best tight end combination. But honestly, if you choose Texas or Texas A&M, they have the best combo of tight end freshmen in the country. So we'll see what he does. And then 5-star Jamie French. Texas leads, Tennessee in a far second. It's hard for me to discount Miami, even though he doesn't really want to play in state for whatever reason. I think it's just like Decorion Moore kind of wants to get away from home, experience freedom by himself. But we will see. I don't know what's going to happen here, guys. I would love for Jamie French to jump into Texas' boat because he's definitely what we need, especially missing out on Decorion Moore. But the problem is he's also going to Georgia, and it's his last official visit will be Georgia. So going to the best program in college football for your last official visit, yeah, that's going to hurt. That's going to suck. So we'll have to see what he does choose to do. I don't know. I think Texas does get this, but I think it's going to be iffy coming down the pipeline. I don't like saying that. I'm going to jump into your comments and questions here real quick. Hey, John, thanks for being here. There we go. And then thank you, Jackson, for putting that in there. That helps. And then there's that link that I was talking about for Amazon. So I really appreciate that as well. Let's go back to this. So recruiting updates, some more guys. Khalid Lockett. Obviously, another 5-star wide receiver. In my opinion, he's the best 5-star wide receiver that we are pursuing or were pursuing, even with Decorion Moore. I've gotten a lot of pushback and hate for that. every other person that does this for a living will disagree with me on that. I don't care. I like his tape better. I like long, athletic guys. He's definitely not as good of an athlete as Decorian Moore, but he's way more. He's a lengthier athlete, Decorian Moore. So I like him better. I think his ball skills are better in the air. So that's why I like Malik Lockett. You have to win 50-50 balls because let's be honest here, guys. The higher levels you go up, you're not going to be as open. You're just not. Sark will scheme you open, but there's very few that can do it as good as Sark. So it's going to come down to UT, Alabama, and A&M. It's weird because Texas and Texas A&M currently don't have any wide receivers on the roster or any freshman wide receivers or any prospect wide receivers in their classes. They have zero each. So I think they're both pitching the same thing. Come here, be the guy. Now, again, Jamie French can change that, but the thing is, Malik Lockett commits before Jamie French. So I think that helps out Texas a little bit. And I mean, if that's that big of a deal to them, he'll go to A&M because Bama's going to have guys. I think Texas does end up with Jamie French. So Malik Lockett, if he wants to be the star of the show, will end up at A&M. If he doesn't mind taking, 50-50, I'm not even going to say he's taking the back seat. He's taking the passenger seat with Jamie French. I think we'll go to Texas, but we'll see there. And then a guy that's been quiet, Nick Brooks. Apparently, Texas is leading with him. You hear nothing from anyone else. So apparently, Texas is leading over Georgia and USC, which is crazy. This guy's from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Iowa can't win him. If Iowa has NIL, they should be spending half of the budget on this guy. He's 6'7", 360 pounds plus. He is a freak, guys. He is huge. Kyle Flood, like I said, Sark has the type. Kyle Flood has the type. Big human beings that he can mold and get to play offensive line. That is this guy to a T. I would love to have him. I think Texas is leading right now. But again, I'm never going to count out a team like Georgia, so we'll see there. I think Texas will hold off USC if that ends up being the 1-2. But if Texas and Georgia, that's a coin flip to me. And then DJ Sanders, a guy that's quiet, just doesn't say anything, kind of like Nick Brooks, very quiet. So we'll see what happens there, but it's Texas A&M or Michigan. I think Texas leads here, but I think Texas A&M is making up ground. I do think he wants to stay in state, and that's why Michigan kind of floated off into the distance. So I think Texas leading, but barely. A&M could easily win this recruitment. Texas needs this recruitment. We've lost Josiah Sharma to Oregon. We've lost Myron Charles to Florida State. We've had Brandon Brown decommit and go to LSU. We cannot lose this guy. And honestly, guys, he's like the third or fourth. He's the fourth prospect out of those three. We can't lose him. We cannot. He is must get. Like if you're telling me everyone on here I could choose, you have to get DJ Sanders. You absolutely have to get DJ Sanders. So we'll see what happens there. Another guy, Texas blew this guy away on his official visit a couple weeks ago. Madden Faramo. It was down to Notre Dame. Everyone thought Notre Dame. He was apparently blown away by the new linebacker coach, Johnny Nansen in Texas. He actually delayed his commitment. He's even pushed it back even further. We're thinking late July or August now, so we'll see what happens there. But to me, guys, I would love to have Madden Faramo because we have a lot of similar guys right now in this class of linebacker. Long, lengthy athletes that don't have a lot of meat on the bones right now. Madden Faramo is the total opposite. This guy's 230, 240, chiseled to all hell, and he will come down and lay the wood on you. This is the type of guy, in my opinion, you need going in the SEC. You need that guy on your bench if need be in a running game. We play Michigan week 2. This guy would be helpful to come in, insert him, and he's just pounding people up the middle at the middle linebacker position. So you need one of these or two of these guys on your roster. You're not going to need them all the time, but the 20 to 30% of the time you need them, they're very, very important. And Madden Faramo would be a really good get for Texas, the 4-star linebacker. And I think it's going to be Notre Dame or Texas. I'm hoping Texas can sway, but again, that Notre Dame's had a lead for a while, and Texas made up a lot of ground. We'll see if they made up enough ground. Next up, and the guy, honestly, I'm worried now because he decommitted from SMU. And I thought he'd be at Texas now, is 3-star Nathan Tillman. This is another one of those long, lanky athletes that Sark talks about versatility. He can fit into it. This guy is a 10-700-meter yard guy at 6'1.5", 185, 190 pounds. Good athlete, physical, good at attacking the ball and attacking the player when they have the ball. I thought he'd be at Texas by now. I'm going to be honest. Every day that goes by, I think Utah – it goes closer to Utah. That's how I feel, because if he wanted to go to Texas, he could have made this happen a while ago, and I thought that's going to happen. Everyone thought that was going to happen once he decommitted from SMU. They said in a week. Well, it's been way more than a week. It's been like a month and a half, so Every day that goes by, I think Utah trends a little bit more for him. And then Aiden Anning, I was hoping cornerback Ruston, Louisiana, was not going to take his LSU official visit. Or sorry, he's not taking official. He's taking unofficial, but taking the visit. He's going to go to LSU, guys. So that does suck because I think if he doesn't, he's going to Texas. They have the last official visit, which does matter a lot for high school recruiting. It doesn't matter at all, honestly, for transfer, but it matters a lot for high school. We'll see what happens there. I think it's going to be interesting. He's a hell of an athlete, guys, and he just basically started playing football. He started concentrating on football. He was all basketball before. I think he was an all-state basketball player. So this is the type of guy, a lot like Smith Orobo, who we just got at the linebacker position, who's only played football for, 3 or 4 years. This guy's only concentrated on football for like a year. So he's him and Nathan Tillman are both lower-rated prospects. They're both 3 stars. But in my opinion, by the end of the year, they'll be 4 stars. We need to land both of them, in my opinion. If we land both of them, this is a hell of a defensive back class. I really like this defensive back class with these two and Caleb Chester as well. So we'll see what happens there, guys. That is the recruiting update. Can you please leave me a like? Please leave me subscribe if you're liking the content. Also, if you're going to go to Amazon, like I said, Prime Day, tomorrow, the 16th and 17th, use a link in the description, put it in, does not change your buying experience, does not change anything other than put in a little bit of money in Mark's pocket. It really helps out. I really appreciate it, guys. And then also check out that USC show. They'll probably be talking about Senator Kynes and how he fits in the Lincoln Riley scheme. So go over there and like that show and comment at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Matt and Tim do a fantastic job, guys, so go give them some love at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry for the hotel tech issues last week, but it was a great time. John, it was a fantastic time. For you guys that have not checked it out, go over there, watch the Texas and Michigan fall preview. We're going to break this game down 3 or 4 times, guys. We're probably going to do it twice game week, once fall pre-preview, which we already did, and then we'll do it after fall camp. And I'm having Wi-Fi issues right now, John, so I had to move from my basement up here because my Wi-Fi sucks. So we'll see what happens with the previews in general, but that was really fun. I really like doing that. I like in-depth previews like that, so I really appreciate it and I had a really good time. So check out that video on both this and the Michigan channel. There it is, Trojans Conquest right there. So there's that link for that. And then we're going to jump into roster updates, guys. So there are a couple roster updates that jumped out to me. Number one, we're just going to start with it because I don't know whether to believe it or not. So speaking of that Michigan preview, I previewed the defensive line, and the interior defensive line is what I'm worried about the most. I love the edges of this team. Sadir Mitchell, 4-star recruit. Georgia wanted this guy badly. They tried to flip him twice, not once, twice. And we were able to hold them off, and he came to Texas. The man is weighing at 370 pounds almost the whole summer. And all of a sudden on the Texas roster, I believe it said 350 or 355. I don't know whether to believe that. That's hard for me to believe that he lost 20 pounds in a couple months, especially when he's been dealing with his weight issues. Saying that, if he has done that, this changes the whole dynamic of this defensive line room. It really does. I think he's got the highest upside of any of the defensive linemen in that room, and it'd be fantastic if he did. It really would be. Do I believe it? No, I don't. I'm going to have to see him. We're going to have to see it to believe it. Some other good things that I do believe. Quinn Ewers. He is up, I believe, 10 to 15 pounds from last year. That is a lot of armor that will help lead to health. And I believe it because I've seen pictures. He's for sure put on at least 10 pounds, and it's been all muscle. He's had quite a transformation, guys. I believe he was 225 when he came here, but he was fat. Then he came down 195 last year, and he was kind of skinny. Now he's back up to like 210, 215, and he's pretty muscular. So the strength staff has done a fantastic job of recreating this kid's body, and it matters. It really does. That is armor on your body, and they've done a great job with him. This one is crazy. So Zeno Ozulu came on, defensive lineman, brother of Neto, who could be the left guard this year. He came in the 2022 class. And apparently the man has put on 35 pounds since he came onto campus, a couple months ago. That is insane. That is insane if that's true. And they did a great job with that. Now, do I expect that 35 pounds to be all muscle? No, I do not. If you put on 35 pounds in that short a period of time, we're probably talking 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, and then the rest is fat. But overall, that's still good. Like, That's good weight for him. Another guy, Cameron Williams. I said this 3 or 4 months ago. He was listed at 360 when I saw him last. He came on to Texas at 370. They had him at 360 a couple months ago, and then they re-released the roster. He is 335. If that is a true number, hell, let's say he's 345. I said if Cameron Williams is serious about getting to the NFL, serious about the right tackle position in general, locking that down, he needs to weigh about 345. He has met my expectations. I expect a fantastic year from Cameron Williams. So I'm going to tell this story. I actually heard this on Texas Football. I think it's super interesting. Mario Cristobal on the offensive lineman when he was at Oregon watched Kelvin Banks, a 5-star, and Cameron Williams, a 3-star, and they asked an On Texas Football reporter, who do you think's better, Cameron Williams or Kelvin Banks? And the On Texas Football reporter apparently was like, are you serious? Like, we're talking about a mid 3-star and a high 5-star. Who do you think I think's better? That's how highly thought of Cameron Williams was coming on. I said from a video, in 2022, right after we got him, this guy has the highest upside of all offensive linemen in the 2022 class. In saying that, the 2022 class, guys, Kelvin Banks is going to play in the NFL. DJ Campbell's going to play in the NFL. There's a chance, like I said, Cam Williams could play in the NFL. If Neto gets a shot, that's 4 guys in one class that could go to the NFL. 2 for sure, guaranteed 3. Cameron Williams will get in the NFL. So 3 guys. And I said he has the highest upside, and I still believe that. So they saw something. I saw something. I think he's going to be a really good player for us. I'm honestly more concerned about the left guard position, even though I think we're still a top 5 offensive line unit in the country. And those are the roster updates I have for you. Everything else was pretty similar. Colin Simmons did put up some weight too. But I thought he was going to play anyways. He doesn't really need much weight when he's just going to be a pass rusher, honestly. He's going to be a third down specialist, most likely, just trying to get to the quarterback. So I'm not too concerned on how much weight he needs to put on. But overall, if they're all true, it's all good. But then it's hard for me to believe on some of them because, guys, they had Xavier Worthy listed at 6'1", and at the combine he was 5'11". So don't put a lot of stock. Don't put all your stock into it. You can put some stock. I'm going to say you can sprinkle a little bit of change in there, but don't put a lot of money in there. Don't put your whole rainy day fund into it. Sprinkle some money in there. But that will be that, guys. But we did talk offensive line, and I ranked every SEC offensive line room, and we're going to get to that in a second. But again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel. I'll jump into your comments real quick and then talk about that. Thanks, Double J. Yes, thank you. Perfect. That is the link for that. It's a fantastic video. I will put it up against there. I've watched other previews. That right there, I'm tooting my own horn, but it's one of the best previews on YouTube for this game so far. It really is. I've watched 3 or 4 other previews. I think we go in depth with it with great analysis, with great detail. So go check that out. I really appreciate it. I can see your running back duo being very good. 100%, John. When I ranked running backs, I had a room as number 1 in the SEC. I think you could debate. Again, when we get to the offensive line, you're definitely going to be able to debate 3 or 4 other rooms in the SEC. But it's not going to be the names you think, honestly. I think I had Auburn and Texas A&M 2 and 3 in some order. I think A&M was second. Alabama's got a lot of talent, but they don't have a lot of production. And Georgia's the same way. They have Trevor Etienne, but they don't have much after that. There's some talented guys in there, but they have no production after that. But we will jump into these offensive line rankings. Guys, let me tell you, this offensive line room in the SEC in general, loaded. I think the first 4 I mentioned here are 4 of the top 8 in the country, minimum. You could argue these are the 4 best in the country, and they all reside in the SEC. It's really impressive what these coaches do to get these type of rooms for their offensive line. And we're going to jump into it. And guess what, guys? I don't have Texas ranked first, but you could. The first 4 of these, you can debate 100%. I could debate these first 4 for the next 3 hours if I wanted to and come down to a different opinion every time I make this list. I went with Georgia for a couple reasons. They have sent a first-round NFL draft pick into the NFL 3 out of the last 5 years. A first-round pick, not an offensive lineman, a first-round pick. They also have Ernest Green coming back, who could be one of the best offensive linemen in the country at the left tackle position, Dylan Fairchild at the left guard position, Jared Wilson at the center position, Tate Ratledge at the right guard position. Right tackle is Xavier Truss. And they have 13 guys that are high 3-star to 5-star. 13. Yes, I think they're the best offensive line room in the country. Until they dip down of not sending guys to the NFL, I'm going to have them here. But that's why I have them one is mostly the pedigree. Because honestly, this next one we're going to talk about might have the most talent. The pedigree does matter to me to some extent. And that's number 2 would be LSU. LSU has 50 starts between their left tackle and right tackle. Will Campbell has started since he's a freshman. Emory Jones at right tackle has started since he's a freshman. That is insane, guys, that both your tackles started as a freshman, and they've been good since they've been a freshman. They have been good. Will Campbell is just as good as Kelvin Banks, and I'm a Texas fan. Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks will be the top 2 tackles taken off the board in the NFL draft, and they've both started since they're freshmen. So has Emory Jones. He hasn't been as good as those two, but he's still really good. You also have DJ Chester, who's coming in. He will be their starting center this year. He wasn't last year. He saw some time and he was pretty good, but he's only a true sophomore. So we'll see what he can do. And then right guard Miles Frazier has 37 starts, along with left guard Derek Dellinger. This might be the most experienced and most talented offensive line. The only reason I didn't go with him is pedigree. That's legitimately the only reason. You could debate it again till the cows come home. Number 3, Texas. Again, you can debate here. Kelvin Banks has started since his freshman year and has been fantastic every game. I'm trying to think whether there's been 1 or 2 games where I'm like, he didn't have his best game, but he wasn't bad. Hasn't had a bad game at the University of Texas yet. Knock on wood. He's been fantastic. Hayden Connor is the weak point at the left guard position. This could be Cole Hudson, who also started sometime as a freshman, or Neto Umuluzulu could come here and be the starting left guard. So those 3 guys are competing. But then center, Jake Majors, 4-year starting, 41 starts. DJ Campbell, love him, nasty. 1 year on the offensive line. And he was the number 1 offensive lineman in the class of 2022. And then the guy we just talked about, Cam Williams. I think he has the highest upside. He's a big guy, 6'7", 335 now, so he's lost a little bit of weight. And honestly, that's good because he was amazing in pass protection when he did play for Christian Jones a little bit last year. His issue was he was amazing in run blocking. His issue was pass protection because he's a big dude. He's got a lot of weight to move around, and that's harder to move east and west than it is north and south. I think losing the weight will help that. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I think there's a chance he's a first-round pick, guys. I really believe that. So that would be number 3. Number 4, I have Alabama. The only reason I have them number 4, it's hard to know who's going to be their tackles. I know they're interior. Tyler Booker's the best guard in the country. Parker Brailsford was amazing last year at center at Washington, part of that Joe Moore Award offensive line. And then Jaden Roberts was fantastic at the guard position as well. I think the interior of this line is just as good as any line in the country. I don't know who's going to start at the tackle positions. Caden Proctor, Elijah Prickett, Wilkin Fomby. So those are 3 guys you got to keep an eye on. I think 2 out of those 3 guys will take those 2 positions. I don't know which 2. Elijah Pritchett was good. Caden Proctor was okay last year. He kind of struggled with the same things Cam Williams did when he got time. So we'll see. He's a big guy too, so that makes sense. He'll only get better. He was a freshman last year. So that's why I have them ranked 4th. Obviously, the snap problem should be gone. That guy went to Ohio State, and he's going to play guard now. So that's going to be interesting there. But he's a good blocker, Seth McLaughlin. He's just going to snap the damn ball. Next up, we have Missouri. Missouri replacing 2 starters. They get Caden Green out of the transfer portal from Oklahoma. He'll be playing guard this year. And they also get Marcus Bryant, an all-American conference player from SMU. By the way, SMU lost a couple good offensive linemen. We'll talk about one later. But they do return Connor Tollison at center and Armin Memhu at right tackle. So I have them at number 5, a pretty experienced offensive line and a good offense. By the way, everyone's talking about Cody Schrader being gone. Good running back. I think he's going to be a good NFL career. I think he's with the 49ers now. They brought in 2 guys in the portal that are going to have really good years. One guy from Georgia Southern, I believe, or Georgia State, I forget, and then App State. They're both good players, though. When I went over Missouri's running back room, I think people are over-exaggerating the loss there. Next up, we're going to have Kentucky. Kentucky returning 3 starters. They have 156 starts combined, 6th in the country on offensive line and starts combined. Marquise Cox at left tackle, Jalen Farmer at left guard, Eli Cox at center, Yeager Burton at right guard, and Gerald Mincy at right tackle. So I have them at 6. That's a lot of experience coming back for Mark Stoops and those guys. Number 7, I have Tennessee. They bring in Lance Hurd, who was an LSU transfer, 5-star. But guess what, guys? When you're a transfer from LSU, you were sitting behind Will Campbell. So I think this guy could be really good. Like, think about this. This guy could be a top of the second round NFL pick, and he's still not good enough to get on the field at LSU because you have two guys at the tackle positions that are going to be first round picks. So this guy could be good. We'll have to see. He played, and he played okay when he did play. They also bring back Cooper Mays at the center position. He was all SEC second team, so I think he's their best offensive lineman. And they also returned the right tackle and starter John Campbell Jr. The questions come at guard for them. Center and tackle, I think, will be fine. The guards will be the main issue there if there are an issue. And Josh Heupel's scheme, honestly, you can scheme around an okay offensive line. And I think they might even be better than that. I have them as the seventh best offensive line in the SEC. Number 8, I have Florida. They have 3 returning starters. Left tackle, Austin Barber. Left guard, Najee Harris. Jake Slaughter's their center. And then Jamian George and Brandon Crenshaw are going to be the right side. And I have Florida number 8 in the country offensive line-wise. And here it is, our rivals, Oklahoma. A lot of starters, guys. They replace all 5 starters. They bring in Michael Tarquin, USC in Florida. He is where he started. He transferred over. We'll see how he does. Jacob Sexton. This is the guy, in my opinion, who's probably their best offensive lineman of the guys that were on Oklahoma's roster. There's only 2 on here. He was an Oklahoma backup. Here's another SMU guy, Branson Hickman. SMU, 33 starts there at center. Pretty good player. Fabici and this is hard to say. And Nwewu, North Texas, all Conference USA, but it's Conference USA. That's the issue here is I don't know how that's going to translate to the SEC. Hopefully for Oklahoma fans, it translates well. And then Jake Taylor was also a backup. I think he's the worst offensive lineman of the group, honestly, which honestly, your right tackle, you can scheme around that. And then Jacob Sexton, I think, could end up being the best offensive lineman, the left guard here for Oklahoma. They have Bill Bedenbaugh, and Bill Bedenbaugh, probably the best offensive line coach in the country. So we'll see where this group does. They have talent, but it's unproven talent in most cases. And then if it is proven, it's proven at lower levels. Or a guy like Michael Tarquin, why are you starting on your 3rd team in like 4 years? So we'll see there. Number 10, I have Ole Miss. They have Jaden Williams, the left tackle, Nate Kalepo at left guard, center Caleb Warren, right guard Jeremy James, and then at right tackle, you have Micah Petrus. Overall, a good offensive line, not great. Again, you can kind of scheme around this for Ole Miss. It's kind of the same thing as Josh Heupel at Tennessee, so it doesn't hurt you as much. But like I said, after the top 4, there's a drop-off here. And then there's even a bigger drop-off, but we'll get to that in a minute. Number 11, guys, I have Auburn. They bring over Percy Lewis, and this man is a big human being. 6'8", 360 pounds from Mississippi State. Listen, in the scheme that Hugh Freeze runs, and he likes to run the ball, this will be fun for them because he will just road grade people. You also bring in freshman All-American last year, Connor Lewis, back at center. Dylan Wade comes in from Tulsa at left guard. Right guard Jeremy Wright, and then returning starter Xavion Miller. So overall, a good. None of the, like I said, 5 through 11, you could debate. 5 through 11, you can debate. I don't think you can debate the first 4. And number 11, I have Auburn. Number 12, I actually think this is where it takes a drop off, guys. I think 12 through 16 is pretty weak. Texas A&M, and people are like, wow, Texas A&M this far down? Like, what happened to them? Well, guys, they have one guy returning. That would be Trey Hoon III. Only started returning. Bryce Foster transferred from Kansas, the center. He did have issues last year blocking and snapping especially. They bring in right guard Armaj Reed Adams, Kansas transfer. Chase Bissonnette, I believe is how you say his name, is starter at left guard. Mark Naboo Jr. at center. And Ruben Fartree II at right tackle. So you have one starter who was the captain back at left tackle and Troy Hoon III. And then a lot of unknown here. Chase Bissonnette, I do remember he's a highly touted coming out of high school. If he can return to that form, that will definitely help out. We'll see what happens. I would expect the offensive line to get better under Mike Elko and crew there. So I do think they'll get better, but I just don't know, guys. Like, this is a gigantic question, honestly. And that's why I said 12 through 16 is not, even then, I might have 5 through 11 might be my second tier. A&M might be on a tier by itself. And then, you know what? That's what I'm going to say. A&M's into tier by itself. I just don't know. And 13 through 16 is terrible. And we're going to get to number 13. That is Arkansas. Arkansas is god-awful at almost every position. And offensive line is one of those, which is funny because Sam Pittman got hired because he's an offensive line coach. And if the offensive line is as bad as it was last year, he will be gone, period. They bring in Fernando Carmona, all Mountain West player at San Jose State. But again, San Jose State, Patrick Kutis at the left guard position does return. Addison Nichols is coming in. Josh Braun is a returning starter. And then Keyshawn Blackstock is at the right tackle position. This is not a good offensive line. That's why they're ranked 13th. Sam Pittman better get it together. Otherwise, he will be gone very soon. Number 14 is Mississippi State. All 6 starters from last year gone. They had 6 guys start. They're all gone. They bring in Memphis transfer Michaela Ponders. They have Albert Reese the fifth at the left guard position. Ethan Miner from North Texas at center. Marlon Martinez or Jacoby Jackson, who is from Texas Tech, at the right guard position. Leon Bell does return at the right tackle, but he did not start, so he's like their third-string player for them last year. At best, he was the 7th best offensive lineman they had. This is a bad offensive line. And I think Mississippi State probably has the second worst team in the SEC. They might be third, and they're definitely in a debate with the next 2. Number 15, surprisingly, I think they've been last in everything other than this, is Vanderbilt. They have 102 starts combined, and that's why they're 15th, not 16th. A lot of experience. They bring in a couple guys from the transfer portal, one from Mississippi State, actually, Stephen Lasoya at the center position. They have Marcel Sandoval or Stephen Hubbard from UTEP at the right tackle position, and they have left tackle Gunnar Hansen, who's probably their best offensive line at the left tackle spot. Overall, guys, this is a military-style attack. They're going to run the triple option. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how it's going to go. Another thing is, Mark said this, they apparently are going to rotate offensive linemen based on what kind of plays they're running, like whatever they're best at. You cannot do that. That gives the other team an advantage because they know what you're trying to run. So if they actually do that, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Tim Beck is their coach, and he was terrible at Texas. He was a great recruiter, terrible coach. And Vanderbilt's the 15th because this team, who almost got Spencer Rattler killed in his 2 years there, South Carolina, and this is what I mean, 41 sacks allowed last year, which was 118th in the country out of 133 teams. You're an SEC team, and you're allowing 118 sacks. 118. Last in SEC in rushing, and there are 9 players jockeying for starting spots. The 5 starting spots. 9 players going for 5 starting spots, guys. So that is never a good sign when you basically have a rotation at your offensive line position. It's going to be very interesting there. I expect this to be the best or the worst offensive line in the SEC. And there's a chance, guys, just reading more and more into it, I think there's a real chance if Lenora Sellers isn't good. I think Shane Bieber will be fired, 1. 2, I think South Carolina, they might be the worst team in the SEC. Vanderbilt might be able to slip up past them. We will see, though. That's not my official prediction. We will get in that, a couple weeks because the season is upon us soon. So, again, guys, this is the 13th edition of Texas Longhorns here live. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Share this out with your friends and family. I really appreciate you guys being here through the crappy Wi-Fi issues and all. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Again, check out the USC show at 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight with Matt and Tim. Really helps them out. They do a fantastic job. They'll probably be talking about Tanook Hines over there, who, said no to the Longhorns, but said yes to USC. And then also Amazon Prime Day tomorrow and Wednesday. That is in the description. Use it to shop on Amazon. Help Mark make a little bit of money while you're saving a little bit of money. It doesn't change your buying experience. Doesn't change anything, the cost of anything like that. It just helps out Mark. So, guys, please do that. And, again, hit that like button and subscribe down below. I really appreciate you guys being here. Hook 'em, guys.